Hey everybody, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us as always is John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video headquarters here in Burbank, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also here, Kristian Harloff.
Black shirt. Who wore it better?
Also here, Mark Ellis.
Cinnamon Challenge. I'm ready to go.
We just sat here, watched about 15 minutes of Cinnamon Challenge YouTubes. He had never even heard of it, so he's going to take the Cinnamon Challenge.
Mark also just discovered Cheers.
We got some stories off the top to talk about?
We do actually. You know, as happens sometimes, thank you for reminding me.
No problem.
As happens sometimes, a couple of pieces of news drop after we already get our show notes together and we get all the topics that you see here in the sidebar. Couple things. One very big major thing, actually, for those of us who've been dying to see this Michael Fassbender Assassin's Creed. It was delayed and then delayed and then delayed, but they have now released an official first look at Michael Fassbender in his Assassin's Creed outfit, looking pretty badass, I gotta say. Now, also, in the article that came out with this, and this was on Yahoo Movies, by the way, everybody, we've been wondering, who's he going to play? Which character is he going to play? Well, he's playing a character that has never been in the video games. They're calling him, the name of his character is Calum Lynch. And if you're wondering where he is, the movie isn't retelling any of the existing games, but rather introducing new characters into the same world. Now, it does sound a lot like the game lore, because this is what it writes up. It says, Lynch discovers that he is a descendant of the secret assassin society through unlocked genetic memories that allow him to relive the adventures of his ancestor Aguilar in the 15th century Spain. After gaining incredible knowledge and skills, he is poised to take on the oppressive Knights of Templar in the present day. So very much an Assassin's Creed sounding movie. Clearly things are now moving full steam ahead. Our first look, I was not expecting to see this for a while, to be honest. I think he looks incredible. He looks like he's come right off the cover of one of the games. This picture, it's just a picture. If the picture had been garbage, it wouldn't have made me any more worried about the movie. So I'm not going to get much more excited about the idea of Assassin's Creed, but it's hard to hold my enthusiasm because that just looks fantastic, and Fassbender looks great in. What are your thoughts on it?
See, I would be a little nervous if the picture was garbage and not authentic, just because, not that it would have too much of a tell on how bad the movie is, but it's whether or not the people who are making it are being authentic to
or at least trying,
right? And you're right. He looks right out of the game. He looks like when we get that fantastic fan art from the fans, and you're just like, wow, that looks incredible. I can't believe they actually put us in Jedi robes. We look like that looks like incredible, well done fan art, but it's also it's amazing how like when I saw the picture first, I'm like, oh, somebody just did an amazing job. But that's because that's what I exactly want him to look like. And as far as the story goes, as long as they're still in the mythology, I'm okay with it being a new character. I don't necessarily need to be Ezio or anything along those lines. It's fine. I mean, maybe they didn't say that they wouldn't mention those characters. Maybe they'll mention those characters. Maybe if if the movie is successful, they can introduce some of those characters down the line. Who knows? Maybe they won't. But I think that we have a good shot of this being a very good telling of a video game movie, because X-Men First Class, when Fassbender brought what he brought to Magneto, that one scene in the bar when he's going up against those Nazis, the emotion in his eyes, that's the kind of emotion you want in this character in Assassin's Creed. So yeah, so far I like what I'm hearing and I love the look.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the Knights of Templar, I'm calling a meeting right now because I'm nervous. Like, let's get a room at the Hyatt and talk about this, because that guy scares the crap out of me. That's what I want to see. And not only am I not bothered that they're making him a new character, I think it's probably the right play, because so oftentimes with video game films recently, you see them try to stick too much to what the video game story is, and it just doesn't play out the same way in a cinematic form. So having some freedom while still keeping a foot in that world and steeped in the mythology sounds like the right move to me. And just the picture alone, we don't know too much about it. It's just him in the Assassin's Creed getup, but it does look awesome. So finally, we get some good news as far as a production going forward with this flick.
Okay, and now another thing kind of happened as we all gathered. Every morning before we start shooting the show, we get together in the conference room, we have a little pre-production meeting. And as we were sitting in that pre-production meeting, Mark is just staring blankly at his phone, which he often does, so we don't really pay
even
much
when there's
attention
nothing on
to
the phone.
And then all of a sudden, but this time he made a sound. This time he made a sound. He went, "Oh my God." And we're like,
It wasn't even words. It was just. It's been an awakening. It's been an awakening.
And like, what's he watching? As you guys got to come see this. So we go around behind Mark's here to watch, and Disney has just put out a new Instagram video. So it's only 15 seconds, if what I was saying, like a mini Instagram trailer for Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, it starts with that shot from behind in the First Order, all the military's out. We've seen that shot. Then it goes, there's an interesting shot where we see Rey with BB-8 from an angle that we haven't seen her before. That was interesting. But the big one is, in the last part of this little segment, we see Kylo Ren in that shot we saw in the very first teaser pulling out a saber, but then the camera cuts to this. Woo! John Boyega, so he's facing John Boyega. We got our first glimpse of Boyega holding a lightsaber at D23.
In the poster,
when they put it in Struzan's poster. And now we see that the Knight of Ren is going to throw down with John Boyega, who is going to defend his block. So, I mean, this looks... I mean, I was shocked to see it. Even though I saw the poster from Drew Struzan, I was still kind of shocked to see that they were having that in there. So it got the blood pumping. It's just a short 15-second Instagram video, but it got us all excited. Me, Mark, and Chris are like, oh my God. And then Ashley's like, okay, let me see what you guys are talking about. And the video finishes, she goes, wait, that's it? So
It was like maybe 3 seconds.
Because you don't know what it means.
Maybe 3 seconds.
You don't know
I
what
know.
it means.
It's on another level for you guys.
I'm not saying as far as
It was
understanding
adorable. It was adorable.
Yeah, that's what the hot girl in school says to the nerds.
That's not what I
you're
meant.
adorable.
You guys were just so excited. I loved seeing it. It made me
so
happy.
Yeah, no. What I meant by that, it wasn't by saying, oh, you don't understand. It's a matter of what it means is that we are getting a trailer next Friday.
Force Friday.
We are getting a trailer for this movie on Friday because Disney has been, and Lucasfilm has been very strategic in the way that they give you information. Like John just mentioned with the lightsaber with Boyega on the poster. Oh, he's got the lightsaber. And guess what? Now you see him in that little teaser trailer. You hear Snoke's voice, which we didn't hear. It's the same voice that from the initial teaser that the first one we ever saw. There's been an awakening, but put over now the First Order. And so I think that what this means is that we're really gonna see that trailer. I love the one thing is though, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't necessarily know if it means that those two are gonna battle. Granted, they both are in the forest, but that shot of Kylo Ren when Boyega's nowhere to be seen in that shot, and then you cut. It might just be kind of a tease to where he's got his lightsaber up against someone else. I don't know, but I certainly hope that they're going to do better.
Kylo, remember when we saw that first clip for Rebels Season 2, we saw Vader and Kanan were about to have a lightsaber duel.
Right.
And do you remember what I said to you when we saw that clip? I'm like, Vader better kick his ass. Right. Because this should be a one-sided fight. If Boyega and Kylo Ren battle, that should be a one-sided fight from what we know. But I'm going to go one step further ahead of you. We're getting a new trailer tomorrow.
You think so?
I think we're getting a trailer tomorrow.
Wow.
And
what a great weekend I'm going to have.
And here's why I think we're going to get this trailer tomorrow. One, I don't think they're going to release this on Force Friday because I think they want their attention on the toys on Force Friday. But the other thing is this. Normally, what happens when we get our first poster? When we hear on Movie Talk, usually when we have a story about the first poster for something has just come out, what inevitably happens the very next day is when the first trailer comes out. I have a feeling they put this out on Instagram today. I think tomorrow we are getting a trailer. I think they're going to surprise us tomorrow with the trailer. I'm probably dead wrong, but as of this moment, I believe we are getting a new Star Wars Force Awakens trailer tomorrow.
Who you talking to?
Never has my cracked iPhone 6 Plus screen looked so good as when I watched it this morning over and over again when you guys were finishing the pre-production meeting. I was still watching this thing. A couple things stand out to me. First of all, that's the same kind of pose that he has with the lightsaber as he does on the Drew Struzan poster, and he looks ready. That looks like Hammer and Hank Aaron about to hit number 715 out of the park. That looks amazing. I love the fact that it's juxtaposing whether they actually battle or not, or he's fighting stormtroopers that Kylo Ren brought to whatever planet that is. The other interesting thing is that everything we've seen from Daisy Ridley's character, Rey, and BB-8 has always been this sandy background, probably Jakku. Here, it looked like they were dining at Rainforest Cafe. It's like a different setting for them, so they're going to be there. Maybe there's interplanetary travel with them involved early in the movie, or it's just Jakku has more elements to that planet than we initially thought. Either either way, I was so excited to see this. I think I'm going to side with Kristian as far as when we get a full new trailer. I think Force Friday, because again, they want to sell toys on Force Friday. Nothing sells toys like seeing that kind of stuff in action.
Nothing good comes from those 3 words. 4 words. I'm siding with Kristian. Nothing good comes from that. But and you're probably right. You're both probably right. I'm going to say this though. One of the things that I am a little bit nervous about, because sometimes a trailer comes out and if there's a questionable casting in a movie, and the first trailer comes out and they don't even let you hear that actor speak, sometimes we'll go, oh, I feel like they're hiding that person. So far, a minute and 30 seconds. That's fair enough to call a short trailer that came out a year ago, or almost a year ago. Then we've got the full trailer that came out at Celebration. We have yet to hear a word come out of John Boyega's mouth. We have yet to hear a word come out of Daisy Ridley's mouth. And I have a little bit of apprehension, just a little bit, amidst all my enthusiasm with John Boyega in this role. My one little bit of apprehension is, I kind of referenced Attack the Block a few minutes ago. Half the time I didn't know what John Boyega was saying in Attack the Block. And it took me about half the movie for my brain to tune in to that really extreme accent.
Because he's British.
Well, he's extreme. It's more than just British. It's like way.
But that movie called for it. Have you ever seen?
No. It does. Yeah. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
But so I wonder how they're going to have his character communicate in the movie. I'm sure they're going to have it very clear.
Well, he also does an incredible American accent. He was in that when they rebooted the new season of 24 that just came out. He's in it briefly for a scene.
I totally forgot about that.
And
that's a great point.
He nailed an American accent. The guy is extremely talented, and I think the reason you haven't heard anything as far as dialogue goes yet, because both trailers have been teasers. Even the second one was a longer teaser without the full story or any dialogue at all from really anybody. All you really had was a voiceover from Luke, and that could have been lifted from Return of the Jedi.
It was directly right. But we've heard Han.
Yeah,
we heard Snoke.
It was a pretty cool thing he
said. And who else did we hear from? We heard Han, we heard Snoke, we heard Luke, and we heard one other.
BB-8.
Wedge Antilles.
Chewbacca.
Oh, right,
we
right,
heard
true.
Chewbacca.
So I think hopefully your concerns are.
No, your example of what he's done. You're right. You're absolutely right. My fears are immediately alleviated. Thank you, Dr. Harloff.
You're welcome.
I'm siding with Kristian. There it goes.
But I'm telling you, I think movie talk tomorrow. I think we're talking Star Wars.
Okay, look, I'll tell you
Let's
this
talk about on
then.
Jedi Council today.
We
did it
yesterday.
We had a lot of fun. I dressed up. Here's what we'll do: is that if they release a trailer, we talk about a movie talk tomorrow. I'll do the cinnamon challenge tomorrow on the show. If they release a trailer tomorrow, I'm putting cinnamon in my mouth.
And he'll shave his head.
False.
All right, let's get on to our first official story of the day.
Oh my gosh. It all started a few months ago when comedian Amy Schumer received an email from Academy Award winner Jennifer Lawrence, who had just seen her comedy Trainwreck. Lawrence introduced herself by saying, "I don't know where to get started. I guess I should just say it. I'm in love with you." The two became friends, and now, according to Lawrence, they are writing a comedy together in which they'll play sisters. Lawrence said the following: "Amy and I were creatively made for each other. We have different flavors. It's been the most fun experience of my life. We start the day off on the phone laughing, and then we send each other pages and we crack up. I'm flying out tomorrow to see her in Chicago. We'll write a little bit with her sister, Kim, who worked with Amy when she was writing Trainwreck." Mark, do you think this movie will ever get made, and would you be interested in seeing a comedy written by and starring Jennifer Lawrence and Amy Schumer?
It's really hard to come down from talking about Star Wars to talk about a comedy with Amy Schumer and Jennifer Lawrence, but yes, I think this will happen, and I would look forward to it. I like both of them on their own, and I think the combination of them, what it would mean for Jennifer Lawrence showing a different side of her career working with Amy Schumer. This seems to me that when I first read this, it's like they've been emailing back and forth. It's one thing for a star actress to be a fan of a comic like Amy Schumer. It's another thing for them to be in constant communication, talking about an idea they have to work on a script. When you factor in that it's also going to be involving Kim Schumer, Amy's sister, and that she worked heavily with Amy on Trainwreck, that spells like this is a viable project all of a sudden in my eyes, and I'd like to see it. Now, is Jennifer Lawrence going to be one of the main forces behind, oh, no, we need to get those pages done? That's going to be Amy and Kim's job. And Jennifer Lawrence is going to be the star, probably with Amy Schumer. What I hope it doesn't end up being is something where it's a lot like what Trainwreck was, where you have two sisters who are all, they grow very, different lives, and one has it together, one doesn't. But them in a movie, to me, especially with Amy Schumer writing it, I think that sounds like a good idea.
On one hand, this sounds really cool. Like, let's take half of the story out. If I just heard that Next year, we've got a new comedy coming out with Amy Schumer and Jennifer Lawrence, and they're playing sisters. That sounds actually quite intriguing to me. I've never seen. Have we seen Jennifer Lawrence in just a flat-out comedy?
I
Like the romantic comedy angle,
you can
but
kind of
Yeah,
go
but-
Silver Linings Playbook, because there's a lot of drama in it too.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of
there was a comedic element to it,
Yeah.
but not like a flat-out comedy
No,
like
yeah,
what we
no.
would expect if it's an Amy Schumer film. Part of me, when I read this story though, part of me wonders if what we're getting is a little bit of actual Hollywood drama. We talked about this beforehand a little bit, but I can just kind of picture Amy Schumer getting this email from the current top of the list A-lister in Hollywood, Academy Award winner for Jennifer Lawrence, saying, "Oh my God, I loved you, and I love you, and I love your movie." And it turned in, and Amy Schumer maybe being a little bit starstruck by that, and then emailing back and forth. And before you know it, Jennifer Lawrence saying, "We should write a script together." And Amy Schumer goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, because you're Jennifer Lawrence." And then it just, before Amy Schumer knew it, she was trapped. She was trapped in writing a script with Jennifer Lawrence, and they say they exchange pages every day. I can picture Amy Schumer writing 15 pages, and then Jennifer Lawrence saying, instead of her saying "I don't care," what if she said "whatever"? Yes, co-credit. And then Amy Schumer's like, "Oh my God, I got to get a little bit of distance between me and this Jennifer Lawrence woman. Let me get my sister Kim." And now Kim's coming in and convince Jennifer Lawrence is a good idea. No, it's probably all face value. It is probably all face value. But when I read this story, I don't know why I see all this drama going on behind the scenes, and I totally shouldn't. It's completely unfair. But how do you see it?
I do take it at face value, and I'm not the biggest Amy Schumer fan, although I did really like Trainwreck. And I think that from what I've seen of Amy Schumer, she's kind of like no BS. So I don't really see her as someone, even if it is Jennifer Lawrence, going, okay, I'd see her going, I can't work with this person. Sometimes she gets in trouble for just talking and saying whatever she wants to say. I don't feel that she would just do a project just to do it, especially coming off of a hit. If she felt that it's going to be a stinker and she's going to have to do all the work. What I do think is from what I've seen in interviews, what you hear on set about Jennifer Lawrence, she's super goofy, she's silly.
That's true. Yeah.
She talks like she's another one. She doesn't have really much of a filter, and that's someone you want working with Amy Schumer. Now, that being said, I hope that they get someone like an Apatow to direct, and they have somebody
To shepherd it a little bit.
Or even like someone like Sean Levy or someone along the lines that can.
He'd be an interesting fit for something like that.
So I'd like to see a really good director work with them as well, because again, even though not being a big fan of Amy Schumer's comedy, I happen to think she's a really good writer, and she's coming off of a big hit. She's yes, Jennifer Lawrence is a superstar actress, the Julia Roberts of our day, as far as the money that she's making and as far as star power goes.
She's the king of the mountain right now.
She really
totally is.
She really is. And so when you have Amy Schumer, when we are in a town of what have you done lately? She just made a big, huge comedy hit, female-driven comedy hit, and spun it to where she was really the male role. So she's on top right now. So it would make sense for them to come together. It's just a matter of, like we say every single day in the show, the right team putting it together.
Yeah, and despite the joking around, I am a big fan of Jennifer Lawrence, and one of the things that really excites me about the potential of this is the fact that we've never seen her do a straight up, flat out comedy. And to see because we know she can do drama. We know she can do a lot of different things in a lot of different types, with a lot of different types of characters and a lot of different types of films. To see her now stretch to something we haven't seen her do, that's really interesting.
Yes, and remember, Trainwreck had a lot of dramatic elements. Trainwreck, absolutely. Amy Schumer, again, impressed me with the fact that it wasn't just a straight over-the-top comedy. Like when the stuff with her dad and even with her sister and the funeral stuff, she can play drama too. So I think you're going to see a mixture of both for sure. Then I don't know if it's going to be just a straight-up comedy. I think because Amy Schumer wants to show up the evolution of her acting chops as well.
All right, what's next?
As many of you know, WB is now in post-production of their upcoming DC Cinematic Universe film, Suicide Squad, set for release in theaters on August 5th, 2016. In a recent interview with the New York Daily News, actress Margot Robbie was asked to describe her character, Harley Quinn, and she said the following: I guess the one common denominator is we're all bad guys. It just makes everything more fun that way. The scenes are more interesting, I feel, when you just don't know how the characters are going to react, especially with Harley, who's absolutely nuts. She's either going to kill you or laugh and give you a hug. John, do you like the way Robbie is describing Harley Quinn?
I love it, actually. And now how true that is, we're going to have to wait and see until we see Suicide Squad. I have a feeling it's not actually going to play out that true. But if it is, one of my big fears about this, well, one of my big complaints really about every movie that's ever come out in Hollywood said, this one's about the bad guy. No, they're not. It always turns out they're just a misunderstood good guy. When it comes down to it, they're actually a good guy or somebody being heroic who maybe before was. We've really yet to see very many films about the bad guys. I would love it if they actually reminded us periodically through Suicide Squad that these people are evil. These are bad guys. If Harley Quinn does something heroic, like in a bank, like if they did something like really cool where Harley Quinn saved somebody's life, right? In the movie. And then 3 minutes later, she just goes up to a phone booth and another guy's on the phone. And instead of even talking to him, she just pulls out a knife and stabs him in the back and takes the phone. Just to remind us she is crazy and she's a bad guy. And that's what her comments kind of give me a little bit of hope for. I hope that is the case. Keep this movie about the bad guys and it'll keep it more interesting. So that's my take on it. Mark, what did you think?
It sounds like the Harley we know from the comic books. You know, I mean, everything that we've seen from this production so far, she has the multiple outfits like the Harley from the comic book lore. These comments to me, it sounds like she's less, and her character has always been a villain, sure, but the wiring's loose upstairs.
Right.
The same way it is with the Joker, as opposed to maybe some of the other ones that are on the Suicide Squad team where they're just bad guys or they're the ones that are misunderstood or think they're doing it for the right reasons. She has a mental component. She's got multiple screws loose. Whatever euphemism you want to use to that, she's not well upstairs. And I think that is what's going to come across screen more than anything.
Yeah, I love the comments as well. And I think that I do think that we're going to get what we want here. And I think that they made it a point to tell us that in that trailer they showed at Comic-Con when Viola Davis is sitting there at the table and says that they're rotten. If they don't figure it out, who cares? And I know that the worry and the concern, because I remember talking about this in a movie talk like last year, was that they're just going to spin this around and make it the same old thing. Like, oh yeah, like you said, they really are. They're all right. They're not that bad.
Yeah.
They have to.
They
be
actually
bad.
have a heart of gold.
Yeah, but they have to be bad because we're going to see them more in other future. They're going to turn out to be. Some of them are going to turn out to be villains that we're going to see, and especially Harley Quinn. And I think you got Rick Flag to be the good guy. You got him to be. You got him to be the good guy. He'll be the good guy because it's going to be hard to have a full movie without anyone to root for. Even though if you like these characters and you like the villains, you still have to root for somebody. I think he's the guy you're going to root for, and I think the other ones will be what we want them to be. At least these comments get me hopeful for that.
All right, folks, well, we've reached that part of the show now for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell. So, Ashley, what do we got?
According to a report in Deadline, actor Joaquin Phoenix and director M. Night Shyamalan are set to team up for their third feature film together. The story claims that the duo are preparing to work on a new film for Blumhouse, which also produced Shyamalan's upcoming horror film The Visit and is set to be budgeted under $10 million. As you may remember, Phoenix and Shyamalan previously worked together on Signs and The Village. Christian Bauer saw Phoenix and Shyamalan working together on a Blumhouse film.
I'm going to buy it. I am going to buy it because here's the thing. Like when Shyamalan was kind of going on his decline, there were interviews that he was having, and he seemed kind of cocky. And then there was that thing on Time Magazine, or whatever it was, like the next Spielberg, and it was like, calm down, man, calm down. And it seemed like the ego was getting big. I had a chance to speak to him at Comic-Con. I've heard more interviews from him. He seems like he's really trying to be creative and get himself back on track. I'm rooting for him. He seems like he's changed and done a 180. Working with Joaquin Phoenix again, who I really enjoy Signs. I didn't enjoy the first time I watched it, but after revisiting it a bunch of times, I dug it. I haven't seen The Visit yet. I'm hoping that it's okay. But working and sitting down with him and Jason Blum, watching them, how they created and how it seems like a good marriage, these two. Mm-hmm. And Jason Blum, the Blumhouse is like the king of making good movies or profitable movies for super low budget. So if you can do that with Joaquin Phoenix, one of the best actors working today, and this is the new road that Shyamalan's going to do, then yeah, it's quality talent working with a guy who has talent. He's just got to get himself back. So I buy it.
You know, it's funny because you talk about the decline, I think, of M. Night Shyamalan really did come from ego. And if this is usually the argument I'll bring up when people say their studio should never interfere with the director. Yes, they should. One of the greatest examples of this is the story of Lady in the Water, which after Battlefield Earth, Highlander 2, and Catwoman, I probably think might be the 4th worst film ever made in Hollywood.
The Four Horsemen of Cinema.
Of destruction of cinema. Lady in the Water is like just that we throw the word garbage around a lot sometimes about bad films. There isn't a word that properly describes how bad Lady in the Water is. It's absolutely brutal. And there's this really famous story about how M. Night kind of submitted he was still at Disney at the time, and he submitted his screenplay for it. The people at Disney, and there's this really famous story. One of the head execs at Disney had dinner with M. Night and brought up some of her concerns. She's like, you write yourself into the script as a writer who saves the world. You write in that all film critics are evil. All these other little point things make absolutely no sense. And we think you're a really good filmmaker, and we think there's some changes you need to make to the story. And M. Night stormed out of that meeting, vowed to never work with Disney again. Don't you interfere with me. I'm an artist, and all this kind of stuff. And then he went on, produced that movie under another shingle, and we got one of the worst films in history. But when they announced that Shyamalan was going to be doing his movie as I just been calling him the Hammer. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. He's the Hammer, man. When the Shyamalan was going to be doing The Visit with Blumhouse, I remember the movie talk we talked about that story. I was excited for it because I remember thinking, I think this is exactly what M. Night needs, because M. Night is not a one-hit wonder. A lot of us think of him in terms, we just think, he did Sixth Sense. No, he did about 3 or 4 really solid movies and then kind of went way off the cliff. I thought getting low budget under a guy like Jason Blum, who keeps a pretty firm hand over the films that they produce because he wraps up all of his money in these little low budget things, this could be a really good fit. We're hearing pretty decent things about The Visit. Having him now, like you were saying, team up again with probably one of the top 5 or 6 best working actors in Hollywood today, that can't be anything but good. So yeah, for me, it's a buy.
I mean, as far as movies go, sometimes the sports fan in me bleeds over there where I would just defend something to the death even when I shouldn't. And Shyamalan's always been one of those guys to me where I'm like, I just think that guy has potential in him still. And maybe that's the twist in his career is that he made a lot of bad movies and he made a lot of mistakes as far as how to handle making films and the cinematic process working with studios. But this seems like the right studio, Blumhouse does, to make a comeback pitch with. The Visit, I'm looking forward to it. Him working with Joaquin Phoenix is the most intriguing thing about this to me. I don't care what studio you're doing with. If it's a small budget production and it's Shyamalan doing good Shyamalan things and Joaquin Phoenix, who always commits, regardless of how the movie is, whether it's great like Signs or it's atrocious like The Village, that guy comes to play ball every single time. I am excited about this now. And now I'm even more excited about The Visit because if they're going to do another project with Shyamalan, regardless of how much money it costs, they have to have some sort of faith in The Visit.
I was going to say the same thing. Great point. Well, that's got to give us some hope that if Bloom is all of a sudden turning around and saying, you know what? I liked this experience so much, I want to do another one with
They had a great rapport, the two of them. They really did. And you heard, I was impressed because they both sat down with one another in the way that they described working with one another. They have they have a mutual respect for each other. So it seemed, and they had finished the movie. It was coming out. They're promoting The Visit, obviously. And it didn't seem fabricated, like they were just trying to sell a relationship. Oh, yeah, I like this guy. He's great. And then they go up in their separate ways. They were hanging out together. They're partying together. So even if the movie turns out to be okay, obviously they want to work together again and feel like they can do some magic.
If it's okay, it's a major step in the right direction for M. Night's career.
Right.
All right, what's next?
According to a report in Variety, Lionsgate is moving ahead with production on a Julius Caesar film titled Emperor. The project has been in development for a few years and is being described by producers as follows. Combining the sweep of 300 with the intrigue of Game of Thrones, this is the part of the story of the mighty Julius Caesar that nobody knows. His emergence alongside Brutus as young powerhouses in Rome, a fresh and contemporary retelling of their rivalries, passions, and jealousies, captured in a movie with breathtaking action, spectacular visual effects, and epic scope. Mark, buy yourself the sounds of Emperor.
I love the story of Julius Caesar. I love a lot of that era of what you could do cinematically. It just never seems to pay off for me, so I have to sell it. I mean, I hear something like this, and yeah, it sounds great if you take the classic story of Julius Caesar and you give it an updated spin, and you tell them about young him and young Brutus and the way that they came up together. Then they have a falling out, and you have these great effects, and I've just seen too many bad movies from this era in history to want to buy this.
Yeah, there's so much in me that wants to buy this so bad because I think we need a great a great new era Julius Caesar epic.
That guy's Julius Caesar's earned it.
Yeah,
you know?
no, he really is. And the story is fantastic. I mean, we need one of these films. And I was excited about it until I read the part about the producers pulling off, it's 300 meets Game of Thrones. And whenever I hear producers start pulling out those types of comparisons, that means you're usually going schlocky. I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope they give us a truly exciting, intense political intrigue, deep characters, Julius Caesar epic that I think we are overdue for. But the comments just turn me off. So for now, I'm open to changing my mind later. But for now, I'm with you. I got to sell.
Not that I loved Caesar less, but I loved Rome more. I buy this, you skeptics. I buy it big. I want to see a big movie about Julius Caesar. I want to see it happen, but I want Game of Thrones. I don't want Pompeii. Now you're both absolutely right. We have not had a version of this yet that has really delivered. But it doesn't mean that my excitement shouldn't be there. Like, if it's done right, because Rome, the HBO show, was awesome. And had that show never been created, we don't get Game of Thrones. Because a lot of those actors come from there. It was ahead of its time. And if you can do a version of that, but they'll probably go a little bit more grand, like you said, the 300 mentioned. I don't want them to go stylistic over substance, because there's a lot of great story in those times. But I think that if done right, can be incredible. It can be what Troy missed. It could be. It really could. It could do something phenomenal if you get the right actors involved in it. So I'm hopeful. So I am buying it.
But the reason why Game of Thrones is so good, and the reason why maybe Rome was so good, I never saw it, is that you had the time to really get into that story, as opposed to where you have 2 hours to throw something on screen, which is where you get 300 or 300 Rise of an Empire, any of these countless other movies that come from that era, whether it's actually steeped in history or it's the Greek myth stuff like Hercules. And it's just, I've been swindled too many times at the movie theater. I feel like I've been stabbed in the back by all these movies, so I cannot. I can't buy it.
What was that stinking one that Channing Tatum did with Billy Elliot?
The Legion,
whatever that one
or the
was.
Legionnaire, or something like that, where they the big iron. Yeah,
we don't have no good track record here, so I understand that. I just
the Eagle. That was it.
But aren't you hopeful for that we can get an actual Julius Caesar?
No.
Not at all.
No, absolutely, I am. I am hopeful. But you brought up the film that I had in the back of my head that I couldn't remember the name. The last time I heard a producer draw on, it's like Game of Thrones and 300 was Pompeii.
Right.
And that was
garbage.
Yeah, I mean that
Keith
was just
Sutherland not even
good.
trying to do an accent.
But the potential here to get another Cleopatra, the potential there to get another Ben-Hur kind of movie in scope and epicness today. You have ripe material in Julius Caesar to do that. If they can do it, it will be great. I'm just, these producers, less talky. I don't want to hear from you right now. Just show me a teaser when you're ready to.
Go see the play, or God forbid you read it.
All right, what's next?
As many of you know, the newest Star Wars film, Star Wars The Force Awakens, is now just over 3.5 months away, and it looks like if you're looking forward to seeing it on IMAX, you're going to have a lot of time to do it. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Lucasfilm has booked all IMAX screens in North America for 4 full weeks to exclusively screen The Force Awakens. The deal means other epic-scale films, such as The Heart of the Sea and Leonardo DiCaprio's The Revenant, will not be able to screen on IMAX. John Byers sells Star Wars The Force Awakens, taking over IMAX for 4 weeks.
We talked about this a little bit on Jedi Council yesterday. For those of you, a lot of you who were asking us, we just did, because of scheduling issues, we did Jedi Council this week on Wednesday, but don't worry, next week we'll be back to our regular Thursday slot for Jedi Council. So on yesterday's Jedi Council, we actually talked about this, and I was really excited, and I've changed my mind.
Really?
I sell it. And the reason I sell it is because I was reminded about what films now we are not going to get to see on IMAX. Revenant is a film I was wanting to see in IMAX. The way that they're shooting that film, the use of all natural light and the scope of it and the landscapes, I was really looking forward to seeing that. I would have been totally happy to see, look, I'm going to be totally jacked to see Force Awakens on IMAX or in a Prime or something like that. 1, 2, or 3 times in the first couple of weeks, and then see it on any movie theater. I'm going to be happy to see it on any movie theater after that. It's perfectly fine. I think I would be more happy if they like booked it for 2 full weeks, and then The Heart of the Sea, that Moby Dick style movie that Ron Howard has coming out, looks fantastic. That would have been cool to see. Revenant would. Now, there's still a chance that these could get on IMAX screens after the 4 weeks are done, and I can't remember quite how the release dates line up. I should look into that. But for now, because of not what it means we're getting, but what we're actually missing out on, I'm going to sell it, surprisingly enough.
Well, yeah, I think In the Heart of the Sea definitely comes out before The Force Awakens, and I'm not sure about The Revenant yet, but The Hateful Eight, the way Quentin Tarantino shot that movie in 70mm, I don't think he wants it on any screen, even an IMAX screen, that's going to take away from the 70mm experience, right? So right. I don't know that he would even want to deal with IMAX. Now, having said all that, I'm very excited. I would go watch this Instagram video on IMAX right now, because I'm that pumped to see The Force Awakens for the next 4 weeks, and it does give people a chance, because look, you can say whatever you want about how easy it is to buy tickets online now. You can go see Force Awakens opening day if you want to. You might not be able to do it in IMAX because there's such a limited amount of IMAX theaters. So the fact that it's playing in 4 weeks does cater to the demand that everybody wants to see it at some point in IMAX. I'd feel a lot worse about not being able to see The Revenant or The Force Awakens in IMAX than I would The Revenant or any other movie. So I like that it's going to be for 4 weeks.
To your point, Heart of the Sea opens up 1 week. So it opens up on the 11th. So it opens up 1 week before The Force Awakens. The Revenant opens 1 week after. So it'll have at least its opening 3 weeks that it can't be on IMAX.
It's a huge buy for me. The Revenant's coming in like limited theaters too in December. It'll be out in January, so they want to stick it in IMAX. I can watch it there, and it's not even shot in IMAX. It's going to look beautiful. It's going to look great on. There are bigger screens that don't necessarily have to be IMAX. So I don't need to see The Revenant in IMAX because it wasn't shot for it. The Force Awakens was shot like at least I think 15, 20 minutes, maybe I don't know the exact amount for IMAX. And it also means we're all rooting for it to beat Avatar. Now, whether it will or not, probably not, but this is certainly going to help because, yes, we will all see it in IMAX, right? And then, like you said, we'll go tomorrow and watch it anywhere. But then there's other people who maybe have never experienced IMAX before. What movie do you want to experience IMAX? Force Awakens, Star Wars. It is a spectacle as much as it's going to be. JJ's going to focus on story and everything too. But out of those movies, all the movies we talked about, that movie is spectacle first. As where you have The Heart of the Sea, which is more about drama. And we said one of the reasons it was moved is because it's probably going to be a slower movie also. It's going to look cool. You're going to see the sea, but do I need to see the sea in IMAX? No, as long as it's in a bigger screen, it's fine with me. The big whale, great. It's on a big screen.
The ocean looks awesome in IMAX.
It sure does.
I can't believe you're trying to bring that up as an argument.
I'm just telling you.
Trying to diminish
I've seen the ocean.
I get it.
The whale. You go in, you go out, you come back.
But that's really what you're seeing in IMAX. You can go to big screens and still get that. You don't necessarily need the IMAX screen for it. It's not an IMAX experience the way that Star Wars is. Now, if you were telling me that there was a Marvel movie or there was another movie, a big Mission Impossible movie, because Mission Impossible was supposed to come out during the same time that Force Awakens was. Now, if you told me that Mission Impossible was moving over and wasn't allowed to do IMAX, then I'd be like, this kind of stinks because Mission Impossible should be seen in IMAX. So those two movies to me, if Revenant wants to come out in IMAX in January, I'll go see it.
I agree with everything you said. I would hate to go to the zoo with you. Can I see the monkey? You've seen monkeys before. You get them on TV.
Here's the thing. I guess this is the thing for me is that the things I get excited about seeing in IMAX are landscape and scenery. Like in The Dark Knight, some of the scenes that were shot in IMAX in The Dark Knight that were just regular scenes of characters who take up 3/4 of the screen, whatever, meh. The shots of the cityscape of Gotham was really Chicago.
But it was shot in IMAX.
Right. But what I'm saying is those shots, those are the shots, the scenery, the grand scope things, those are the things that hit me. The regular shots, those don't impress me all that much on the big screen. So like seeing The Force Awakens, while I'm really excited to see it, it's a dark sky with stars in it.
They've been shooting in multiple. They shot in the second largest cave in the world for this movie. They went to Skellig Michael Island.
You know, I'm excited about seeing it. I want it at least 2 weeks in IMAX. I want it there.
But I'm just saying your Dark Knight example though too. They shot that scenery in IMAX, so we don't know if they didn't shoot any of the scenery in Revenant in IMAX. They didn't shoot those cameras.
I understand. I was just saying the scenery shots,
I'm with you.
The landscapes. That's what I like seeing on those.
If you told me that The Revenant was shot in IMAX and now because of Force Awakens, now we're not getting that experience because the stuff that they shot in IMAX we're not going to see in IMAX, then I'd be bummed. But they didn't shoot.
I've seen mountains before.
All right, what's next?
According to a report in The Wrap, Academy Award-winning actress Anne Hathaway is set to produce and star in an upcoming sci-fi comedy called The Shower. The story begins during a baby shower when the guests find themselves witnessing a meteor shower, which turns men into aliens. The remaining women must fight to save themselves and the entire world. Hathaway has recently been seen in such films as Interstellar and Les Miserables, and will next be seen on the big screen with Robert De Niro in the film The Intern. Christian bars all the sounds of The Shower.
Can I buy the picture that Ray put up there? This sounds dumb. Sell.
No, that's your argument.
That's it. It sounds dumb. And I don't know. It could be one of the most. It could be a clever script that I'm laughing my ass off to. I don't know. But from that, hearing that paragraph turns men into aliens, and then they gotta save the day. Like, well, who else is in it? What's it about? Who's directing it? It sounds dopey to me.
I'm a little torn on this. I am a little torn because at first reading, it sounds dumb. And then I think, well, maybe I'm being a bit sexist because if you describe the same movie to me and it said starring Seth Rogen and Jay Baruchel, meteors fall from the sky when they hit every woman in the area that these meteors hits turn into aliens, and now Seth Rogen and Jay Baruchel got to fight those aliens off. We're thinking, oh my gosh, this sounds like a great folloff to This Is the End.
Wait, can I defend myself there on that point though? Because I don't.
I'm not going against you. I'm talking about me.
But as far as even with the sexist thing too, because if you told me that it was Kristen Wiig and then Paul Feig directing and then Melissa McCarthy, then I'd be like, oh, well, what's that? That sounds a little bit, because I don't associate her with that kind of goofiness.
Yeah, see, I believe that about you, but I believe there's a latent sexism in me. So I'm saying maybe that's the case because it sounds like it doesn't sound all that far off from a This Is the End, right? But I gotta sell it. The dumbness of the description kind of overrides that a little bit. And going back to the This Is the End thing, it feels like we just have that movie, kind of in a way. Now, I will admit, seeing, Anne Hathaway do a film like this, much like the Jennifer Lawrence doing a straight-up comedy, kind of gets me intrigued with that. I am kind of intrigued that she's doing something like this. She's an Academy Award winner doing something like this. That's interesting. It's a little bit outside of her regular comfort zone. So that's cool. But you're exactly right. Until we hear who's directing it, a little bit more about what's going on in it, who are going to be her co-stars, for now, I got to sell it.
It sounds like something Jennifer Lawrence and Amy Schumer came up with when they were drunk. But I buy the premise. It's original. It's something that I haven't heard of before. It's got shades of even something like Lysistrata or something where the women have to rise up because the men just aren't doing their job.
Earth Girls Are Easy.
It's something like that, a classic like that. It sounds like it's ripe for comedy to me. And the fact that Anne Hathaway is in, if I just heard about this movie and no stars were attached or nobody I've heard of was attached, it sounds like a sci-fi original movie to me. But Anne Hathaway has some clout. She's got some star power. She wants to do this movie. I am a little bit more intrigued. And the premise did make me giggle when I read it. It sounds stupid and ridiculous, and it's not going to be a serious movie. If the comedy works, I'm going to like it. So I'll buy it.
All right, folks. Well, listen, it is Thursday, which means it's time for our weekly second half of Opening This Week, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. Now, on Tuesday, we covered the first film opening in wide release this week in We Are Your Friends. And today, we're covering the second film in wide release. Ashley, what do we got?
Also opening this week in AMC theaters is the film No Escape. In their new overseas home, an American family soon finds themselves caught in the middle of a coup, and they frantically look for a safe escape in an environment where foreigners are being immediately executed. No Escape stars Owen Wilson, Lake Bell, and Pierce Brosnan. John, are you looking forward to The Escape?
This is one of those films where the first trailer came out, and I'm like, meh. And the second trailer came out, and I was a little bit less meh. But when I think about the film, I am looking forward to seeing it. I have not seen it yet. Two other people at this table have, and that's why I'm going first, so we can get the informed opinions here, the guys who actually saw the movie already. I'm a big fan of Lake Bell, actually. I'm a really big Lake Bell fan. And seeing Owen Wilson in a role like this, I like seeing Pierce Brosnan, show up whenever he does here and there. And this whole concept of being in like this third world nation that starts going to hell and you got to get your family out to save their lives, that sounds like it could be an interesting and intense thing. So I'm going to say I'm going to be there this weekend. I'm going to go see it. I'm interested in hearing about it. So that's my view. But Christian, you saw the movie. So how did you feel about it?
I would have liked to have seen Pierce Brosnan in this movie too. He's in it for like 5 seconds, maybe 15 minutes.
But he's on the poster.
Exactly. He's wasted. The movie, I didn't know what to expect going into it. I was actually pretty excited for it, to be honest with you. I saw trailers and I said, well, I didn't know if it was an action movie, if it was a mixture of maybe something like The Impossible, or what was it? And I was very intrigued to see Owen Wilson in this role. And I will say that Owen Wilson and Lake Bell are great together. They have great chemistry together. The family dynamic, I believe, but it's really the logic in the writing is so, the stuff that happens is really dopey. There's scenes that you go, well, wait a minute, this is a totally different movie than what you just did 5 minutes ago, the way you set it up, and it's very cliched stereotypes that are in this movie as well too. The point of the movie, the story just kind of falls apart, and there are times that they ask you to suspend your disbelief for a movie that you shouldn't be. And it's just, I was really bummed on the movie. I didn't hate it the way I started to hate watching the DJ thing, but this movie, it was a bit of a letdown.
But I loved Goodfellas, and so when you put Ray Liotta in a futuristic prison society and he has to escape, that sounds
no, that's not this No Escape.
That's the different. That's a different one.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Let me recalibrate my thoughts. Yeah, Owen Wilson has proven he can be an action star with Behind Enemy Lines, so that's why I was looking forward to No Escape.
Underrated film, I think.
And that was based on a true story. The story of Scott O'Grady. This one, like Christian said, it feels like it was based on a true story, but it isn't. And a couple points in the movie, you're like, oh, that wouldn't have happened like that. So the director John Eric Dowdle comes from a horror background. He did actually the Shyamalan produced movie that surprised me, Devil, and last year's As Above, So Below, which I dug okay. I think he's more suited for horror than he is for action. The use of slow motion in here threw me off. I didn't feel like it was used in the right way. Like John Woo probably would have thrown up in his mouth watching this movie a little bit. So I wish I loved this movie. I bought the trailer when we talked about it on Movie Talk. I just don't think I can send you out to the theater to see No Escape. If you catch it on cable, you might dig it.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show now for buy or sell. No, it's not. It's mailbag. That's the part of the show that we reached. Time loop. Sell everything. For mailbag, listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address in the show, just email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. Ashley, what is in the mailbag today?
She's
I am dying to know what's going through your head right now.
I'm sorry, I'm just so distracted. Okay, Sheesh Kakar writes, hey guys, I just saw Fantastic Four and must say that it was pretty decent. I don't understand the severe bashing it got from fans and critics alike. It's like they're punishing Josh Trank for not doing the next Star Wars film. I agree that it was not the greatest.
I can't wait till we're off air.
We're
going to find out what she's thinking.
And maybe the climactic battle could have been extended a little more, but apart from that, it set out to tell what it was commissioned to do, i.e. tell a decent retelling of the F4 origins.
Yeah, and I think I know what she's laughing about. Yes.
Does it involve me?
Yes, always does.
It's all your fault, Mark.
Here's the thing about Fantastic, and you know what? I think you're right. Well, number one, I think you're wrong. It wasn't a decent movie, but it's all film subjective. So if you got some enjoyment out of it, that is awesome. That is great. I don't think it was a decent movie at all. But you do raise an interesting point. I was having this discussion with a friend of mine the other day. Fantastic Four, I think almost across the board, a lot of us, at least I know me, Dennis, Schnepp, I think you as well, I'm not sure about you. A lot of us are like, the first half of the film we're like, what's everybody complaining about? This isn't all that bad, And then the train comes off the track and everything derails and they fall off the wagon and, it's just a bloody mess after that. But a lot of people are talking about it in terms as if you hear a lot of people talk about it, you would think it belongs up there with, Lady in the Water and Catwoman and stuff like that. And it doesn't. It actually doesn't, because there are chunks of time in the movie, which usually mostly at the beginning, that have some redeemable qualities that aren't bad. And so overall as a film, I still gave it a 3.5 or something. Still, to me, it was still a bad film, but was it a legendarily awful film? No. So why are people talking about it in terms as if it's legendarily awful, like one of the worst pieces of garbage you've ever seen in your life? I think it has to do with a couple things. This is just my theory on it, okay? Is that the other two Fantastic Four films are so disparaged, so badly. And a lot of people were predicting, me early on, but then I changed my prediction to a wrong one. A lot of people were predicting a long time ago, well, if they're doing another Fantastic Four film, that's going to suck too. And so I think the fact that the previous two Fantastic Fours are so disparaged and so disliked, that fed a lot into, if this movie failed on any level, it was going to get gang piled on. Then the whole thing started coming up about a week before release when everybody realized Fox is hiding this film. Fox is hiding it. This must mean they hate it. This must mean they have no faith in it. And that whole story started to snowball. So when the movie turned out to be not good, we all jumped on it intensely. I still believe that Fantastic Four will not end up in my worst 10 films of the year list. I think I can already think of a couple that I've seen which will rank lower than it. I think it might be in my worst 10 films of the year right now, barely. But I mean, it's a bad film, but I think those external elements, the previous films, all the drama that went on behind the scene, all this other stuff, and people were determined to really gang pile on this film if it turned out to be bad, and it did turn out to be bad, so Fantastic Four has nothing to blame but itself. I think that's it, but I don't think it's the worst film ever made. Anyway, Mark, your thoughts?
Fairly or not, you can also look at a movie and say it's bad, and then it becomes a legendarily bad film when the box office receipts come in, and it's such a horrible
box office
bomb.
failure is another one.
They put so much money into this project, and the time is ripe right now for comic book movies. You have an environment where you can be successful. Look at what Marvel and hopefully what DC is about to do with making great stories and telling these things and making legions of fans for decades happy with what they're seeing on screen. You had every chance to do that, and for whatever reason, it didn't just fail, it blew. This movie is not good at all. The first half was okay. And seeing the second half, my litmus test for any comic book movie is like, okay, that maybe I didn't like it. At least you set us up for a sequel, and this did the opposite. It made me not want to see any Fantastic Four incarnation, which really is a shame because when you look at this as a team, you put a great product on the field, you had the players in place, you had the right coach, the right GM, and it just failed miserably.
You bring up two great points that I want to highlight because I
Just
think you're
two.
bang on.
Yeah.
Well, no, but two
the history of the
really
show?
clear.
Yeah.
I think you raise another great external point, the box office failure part of it, but also the fact that one of the things that gave me hope for it was that they had done such a great job as a studio with what they've been doing with X-Men lately. Mm-hmm. You had a terrific Academy Award level, at least nomination level cast. You had a director who just directed. You had all the tools. You can't blame somebody for making a bad cake if you gave them rotten ingredients. They had all the best ingredients here. Absolutely, that's a great point that I hadn't considered.
Well, it's all of that for sure, and it's a fact that right now over the last couple of years we're living in an age where the superhero movies have been Teflon for box office in the last 2-3 years. Yeah. With all the Marvel movies, and then like you guys said with X-Men, so the expectations were high, and this movie was a gossip magnet.
Oh yeah.
And from everything you were hearing about it, with like the beginning of it with casting the young cast, and you were saying the Fantastic Four babies and
all against
all
it.
that stuff, and then the stuff with Trank behind the scenes before the movie even came out, like all the rumors, and then it just became more about the drama behind the scenes than it was about the actual movie, but people were talking about. So then you start to really, is it really going to be a turd, or is it true? Are they going to say no? I remember how many people were rooting for it when that announcement came out. They were doing Fantastic Four 2, and I said, "There's no way it's going to happen if these rumors are true." And God bless all the fans who were Fantastic Four fans who wanted a great movie, going, "No, it's going to work. You'll see." And I was hoping. I even changed my tune and hoping, okay, wait, you know what? Maybe this turns out to just be one of those scenarios where director didn't work necessarily with everyone on set, but he's going to put something together that's great. But then he, the director, tweets out that this is not the movie he wanted. That didn't help. And so more people, when you go to see the movie, before it even comes out, and then so when that happens, then more people are going to start piling on, because I agree. I think the beginning of it, and I said, I've even been called a madman for giving this movie a higher score maybe than people thought I should. The beginning of it, there was a science fiction / horror film that it was not a Fantastic Four movie. It would have been an okay cable movie. But then it just, like you said, goes off the rails. It turns into a stink pile because it's just a mess. It's a mess. So because of the high expectations and everything that was involved, it was a punching bag.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that'll do it for us for this installment of Collider Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films are playing over at our friends at AMC Theaters. Head on over there to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. Make sure you follow Collider on Facebook. You can find us on there. For Collider Video, you can find us on things like Instagram and on Twitter as well. So follow us on all that good stuff. And hey, but most importantly, make sure you click subscribe and become a subscriber to our YouTube channel. Keep you up to date on all the great stuff we're doing here at Collider Video. And if you like your entertainment news, you've got to bookmark Collider.com. Steve Foster, Ryan Traub, and his crack staff of writers over there, keeping you up to date by the minute of what's going on in the world of entertainment. Once again, bookmark Collider.com. I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting over here on my left, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you online?
Online, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at 5150 Ellis. But why do online when you can meet me in person? I'm going to be on the road this fall. Kansas City, Syracuse, and Atlanta, the first 3 cities I'm doing stand-up in. Get tickets at markellislive.com.
Sitting over here on my right, Mr. Kristian Harloff. Kristian, where can people find you?
Well, as John mentioned, if you haven't watched Collider Jedi Council, we put the episode up yesterday. Please go there, check it out, comment. Would love to get your thoughts on all the topics that we talked about. You can follow me at Kristian Harloff on both Twitter and Instagram. Love talking Star Wars with you guys. Hashtag Collider Jedi Council.
Our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, what were you laughing about?
You know when when your teacher stops, like you're in class, you start like laughing, your teacher asks you to stop laughing, and they're like, you're gonna go to detention if you can't stop laughing. That's how I felt on today's show.
You're still in school?
I
Where
am
can
still in
people
school.
find you online?
You guys can
6th
find me
grade.
on Twitter and on Instagram and in detention. So find me on there. Happy Thursday, guys.
And I want to thank the people off camera in the room today. Ray back there with all the graphics, Wendy helping out, Dennis running the show. And thank you most of all to you guys. You are the most important thing about the show. Make sure you leave your thoughts and your opinions on any or all the topics we discuss here today in the comments section below. Make sure you click that like button too. Anyway, you can follow me on the various social media networks, just on Facebook or on Twitter at John Campea. That'll do it for Collider Video. And until next time, bye-bye.